planning may assess, because the plan is 5 years. The midterm review is done to assess the performance of the previous 2 years, so that you can set a new course in case there are changes or new challenges. For the same plan, they are not meant for the purpose of developing the next development plan. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the failure to deliver midterm review within the right time is another form of mismanagement. It's another form of failure of the system. The failure, the second one, is for you to fail to evaluate NDP 1. And I think it is now coming to 5 years. After 5 years, you're evaluating NDP 1. I don't know what you are doing. Planning is becoming a serious nightmare. And I think you seriously need to address these shortcomings. So we should not use the reviews as the explanation for the delay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The NDP 2 will come to an end on the 30th of June 2020. NDP 3 will start on the 1st of July 2020. And from the government side, we are informing this committee that we shall have NDP 2, NDP 3 start by the 1st of July 2020. So there is no real contradiction. We shall have it in place. Yes.
Chair, I thought
the review of the evaluation of NDP 1, we have a report which we did. The review of NDP 2, we finished it, and it was very important because we get lessons to inform the incoming NDP 2.
No.
So is our plan NDP 3 going to be ready to start with what the law requires 1st July? Yes, it will be ready on the 1st of July. It would have been better. Yes, it would have been better if it came in September last year to inform the budget framework paper, but it was not possible, and we have explained again and again. But the broader picture is that the 1st July of this year, where the law requires us to have that plan in place, we will have it. We will have this plan before we present the final budget to this committee and to Parliament. And in fact, our plan is ready for presentation tomorrow to the House. And the Speaker has accepted to put the plan on the order paper. On the issue of the middle income, I think that was a very important question, Mr. Chairman, that we did promise the people of Uganda that we shall be in the middle income by 2020. The good news is that we are making massive progress. We hope that and still believe that we can actually attain the middle income status by end of this financial year. As we speak now, we are on 878. Because the middle income status, what we meant is the capacity to have the per capita income of 1,039 US dollars, 1,039. That is the measure that we use. As we speak, we are 878. And that is at the end of the last year. So we think by the time we get the reviews end of June this year, we shall actually have reached. We are still very positive. Yes. So
and that is through rebasing.
From 744, and I'll ask Kagwa in a minute to shed some light on rebasing. And I would really want, Chairman, because I know you are very good at economics and you believe in these fundamental principles, there's no other way you can talk about the economy without implementing some of these. Now, on the issue of...
But, Chair,
before he leaves that, this is story of looking at GDP gross.
That's where I'm coming.
And then you average and get the number. The story the people of Uganda, the people I represent, want to hear. Because you see, on this annual budget, the budget you have, we know the contributors to the GDP. And you can trace and say, when you look at the contributors to the GDP that are contributing, you will find that the top rich people in this country contribute so much. The poorest of Ugandans, and you must figure saying, Ugandans are becoming poor. The average Ugandans are becoming poor. The poor index were increasing. So, as you tell the story, middle income status, we don't mean figures. We want to see it in our homes. We want to see it in our wallet. Distribution. So don't give us a story that is written here, which you have debated, and then give us the spread, the equity part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No, can I respond? I was coming to that point.
Just a moment, I want to give you some information. Even as we talk now, according to the new format, the World Bank now, we no longer use GDP. We actually use GNP. So, whereas you are telling us you are creating those good stories of GDP, you better revise your figures and start using GNP. Because that's not what the World Bank uses. So actually you will be still left behind. Because you will be giving a country, it's like you go to a doctor, you have malaria, the doctor says you have diarrhea. But in you it is malaria, but the doctor is saying for you it is actually. So really, Chair, the information I want to give is that even using GDP per capita is deceptive. So that's no longer the parameter we use, we now use GNP.
Okay, so that's actually not very new to us, because all methods are accepted, but we have a standard that we use. And Honorable Chivumbi, that's the reason why you see, because of the fact that it is possible to have a high GDP per capita, but with poverty, that is possible. But to sort out that problem, that's why we see in the next plan, we are really focusing on the household income. And our theme is increasing household income and improving the quality of life for Ugandans. We want to target the 68.9% households who still live in subsistence. But we had to first work out the fundamentals, the base that can help us address most of these problems. So, Mr. Chairman, some of the other things we shall put it in writing because they are fundamental issues. But I would like to also respond to one or two others, and I ask my colleagues here from the ministry to respond. One, we are not here to tell stories. We are bringing facts and the truth. This is not really to say that we stories. Maybe it's a new way of communication in the committee for the new year 2020, but
you are not telling the story.
We have facts here. We have facts. When you say we have improved on infrastructure, you can tell it, or you know that you can now move from Chisoro to Koboko on a tarmac road. That you know. You know that it is peace and security compared to other areas. You know that actually because of our strengths, given the limited resource that we support security, we can be able to go out and support our brothers and sisters in Somalia, in South Sudan. That, you know, that's not a story. That's the truth. You know, for example, Honorable OO, that we have increased our factories. We now stand at 4,600. Where will the jobs come from, friends? The jobs are going to come from factories. The jobs are going to come from supporting enterprises in our rural areas to support people in rural areas. So, Mr. Chairman, we are not really talking about slogans, and I don't know why OO this morning and this year in January has taken that path. I think these positive energies can be channeled to another area, Mr. Chairman. Charles, what's happening now? What is happening?
The issue is a national concern. We are now beginning to address and pinpoint one honorable member
I was
who raised that issue.
I was responding to
Minister in order.
Well, it's not time for finger pointing.
Okay. Okay. The trade is, we are making good progress, Mr. Chairman, on the issue of the border of Katuna. As you know, the two leaders have been at this one, and we have seen some good progress despite the hiccup that we had last 2 days ago. But we have seen exchange of some good things, releasing of some people on both sides. We hope that this will work out sooner than later. The other issue is about the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, which I will ask him, Kagwa to respond to afterwards. Then our strategy has been really reducing the cost of doing business to improve the economy. The cost of doing business to improve the economy. And that's why we have seen that the cost of electricity, we had to focus on production, on generation of electricity, to reduce the cost of electricity. At least now, despite the few hitches which are coming, we are better off than we were 5 years ago. We have also been focusing on transport, investing in infrastructure. And on the issue of SGR, we are in touch with Kenya. Charles, we are in touch with Kenya to solve that issue. But I think also believe that we should do our side as we continue negotiating with Kenya to connect the other side. Because these projects take a lot of time. If you wait to solve one problem, you can lose a lot of time. Finally, Mr. Chairman, there is an issue of presentation which you keep referring to. And I think maybe we need, as committee members, working with you, and I was telling our staff here, to resolve this issue. Because you see, when you see the contribution of tourism and say it is 0.6%, what are the driving factors in tourism?
These are allocations.
Yeah, these are the allocations you're talking about.
Hey, budget allocations.
The budget allocations. Honorable Chibumbi knows. Honorable Chibumbi already knows the answer.
But anyway,
you see
let's make it very clearer.
Chibumbi is
Minister.
is privileged because he knows that even our security equipment was not working, which for us we are not privileged to that. So I don't know where you get it. Yes, so.
In the strategy here, you talk about building the aerodromes.
Yes.
Across the country. You show me how much money you have allocated to that. 13 aerodromes.
Okay.
In your strategy, you are saying you are going to build them.
That is.
How much money have you
But the
given
point,
to it?
but the point I wanted first clear was the point I wanted clear was a conceptual point that for tourism, there are things that are driving tourism. Roads are driving tourism. Defense is driving tourism. Defense and security. Communication is driving tourism. So the amount of money in the allocation that you see are really the direct expenditures that we capture under tourism. But if we are going to capture all resources allocated to tourism, it would be beyond 0.6%. But in the circumstance, there is no other way we can make this allocation, the MTF allocations. But if we were to look at how much money going to tourism, it's more than the 193.7 billion. Because it involves roads, it involves, because under tourism, we are capturing promotion, advertising and promotion, we are capturing salaries, but we are not capturing roads. We are not capturing the security that is required to attract tourists.
Chair, let me ask the minister.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe before you do, Honorable Siko has something burning.
see, Honorable Minister, what we wish to see, you are right, that when we talk about, for example, promotion of tourism, there are certain activities that are directly done under Ministry of Tourism. There are others that are done either by Ministry of Works, Defense, and whatever. But this may be from a theoretical point of view. We want this demonstrated in the way the budget is structured. We want to see how integrated this is. For example, when you come to the Ministry of Defense, you should be able to see out of this is targeting tourism. That's the kind of detail we want. Okay? But yes, we know security, for example, cuts across. Okay? How much is that, for example, geared towards specifically tourism? We want to see that reflected in the way the budget is structured. Otherwise, Chair, I just want to say this. I think our major challenge has been the budgeting, rather the planning process. We have had unintegrated planning process. I'm very happy that we've just met the National Planning Authority, and they have said, as from now, they will be responsible for doing all feasibility studies for government projects, which has never been the case. You know, our planning process is defective. We have been unable to align NPA programs to sector programs as well as the MPs. And that lack of alignment results into doing things which are not complete. Okay? And in the end, it actually ends to resource wastage. So we want to see a plan that directly addresses the objectives at the higher level, which are linked to this, and that relationship should be.
Okay, let's come back to the minister.
Chair, just one thing I want to Chair, two things. He has reported this budget, and in his submission he said there are statutory reductions. If we are just to take you on one budget of tourism, take away all the statutory deductions and tell us how much money is left for improvement. It is like the story of factories you are giving. Colonel Fred is here. We are interacting with the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Immigration. As we are building these factories, this year alone, this year so far, they have licensed, given foreigners license to work here, 15,000. 15,000. So as we are building the stories, you will see an infrastructure and you will get happy. But 15,000 jobs have been given away to foreigners. That's why we need a complete story in every sector, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Just something small.
Yeah? Very briefly.
Yes, Chair. Chair, when the minister says that there are other sectors that feed on tourism, Chair, why don't we borrow from our neighbors who have actually done better than us in the sector like tourism? Look at Kenya. Take case of Tanzania. Actually, what happens that in Tanzania and Kenya, the tourism docket is given its own budget to do the roads, the tourism roads, because they know better the kind of facilities they require. And also, Chair, by now, for instance, they should be now telling us how they're investing in infrastructure that promote tourism. For instance, the specialized vehicles. If you go to DC, like you go to DC in Kenya, those type of cars, we don't have them here. Those are some of the things that we would be seeing in our budget that are directly targeting but for you are telling us they're only paying salaries, allowances, advertisement. That's what you're saying. I don't think that's a promotion of tourism.
But our tourism numbers Growing better, actually.
Sorry?
Our numbers
Going better than what?
than the regional peers.
No,
Chair,
No,
Chair,
that's not correct.
I dispute that.
you need
What?
to go to Tanzania.
No,
Arusha
yeah, what
alone.
these guys call tourists, whoever comes to Entebbe,
We have the numbers.
any foreigner who arrives at Entebbe airport, they call him a tourist. But that's wrong. Tell us the tourists who go to the national parks.
Yeah, but when shall we also be proud of our country?
No, I'm proud of my
You cannot
country.
just say everything is no. When can we be proud of
And
our
even the
country?
numbers are there.
Even the numbers are there. You
When the
say
numbers are there.
even with the numbers you say no. When will you be ever proud of
You
your
cannot call everybody who lands at the Entebbe
Minister,
airport.
don't quarrel with members. This is
This is an opportunity for us.
complete representation.
Mr. Chairman, the remaining questions,
Order, please.
the remaining comments and questions.
Order.
The remaining
Members.
questions required us to really respond to in writing, because like now issues of figures of tourism, we need to put it in writing. We need to detail.
Agriculture,
We need to
1 million
detail
homes.
how much we're investing in infrastructure for tourism, the roads that we are going to build. All these are going to be. But all that said and done, it's not disputable. It's not disputable, Mr. Chairman, that our economy is growing. It's not disputable. It's not disputable that we have a peaceful country. But we should take advantage of this, take this country to another level. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in the DP3. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
We are going to respond. We are going to respond in writing.
Oh, so they are not giving
Yeah.
any comments.
We are going to respond in writing.
Chair, procedure.
Procedure.
The procedure not one thing is says that some of the questions when present them in writing
Yes.
and submit. When shall we have another time to listen to that written response? It has been a common
the
practice
chairman
that they
let
say
us know.
we shall present this in writing. And we don't come to understand whether it was given or not. Are we
No,
proceeding?
you
By
give us.
allowing him to do that.
You give us
And
time.
we detail what he should do after getting it things in writing, or schedule another time,
Yeah.
few minutes to listen to this
We'll be
presentation
here.
in writing.
Further procedure.
Okay,
Further
Mr.
procedure.
Minister,
Yes, sir.
in writing, are you proposing that you don't have the answers now?
I
So you are going to go in your books
no.
and do further research,
We really
get the
think,
answers?
we really think that, Mr. Chairman, some of these fundamental questions should be answered and properly documented. And with facts. Because like now when we say how many towards numbers, we want to know how many numbers and put them there, because we have them, but we must bring them.
And we compare with the
If you say how many roads, for example, how many roads you are building for tourism, we have got to check with the sector and then bring them here, and you are very sure. Yes, yeah.
Further procedure.
Yeah, but you know, we gave you the broad picture.
But Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Minister, just listen to this. We have told you, and this is after reading the budget framework paper you have presented, that your strategy, those strategic interventions, don't match with the intervention we have in the sector. And I've just given you an example of the 13 aerodromes. There's no money presented to construct those aerodromes. In the strategy you are saying, in order to boost tourism, you are going to build those 13 aerodromes across the country. Can't you respond to
But
this
maybe-
quickly and
maybe,
say,
Chairman.
and accept or deny?
No, Chairman. I think let's see.
They refuse,
Can we-
they refuse to give CAA a vote, because if they are interested, they talk of Entebbe Airport, the aerodromes, but they refuse to give CAA a vote. If I am lying, the minister is here, they come tell us if the CAA has a vote where they can allocate.
Okay, well, first of all, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute.
Uganda Airlines has no money for ground parking. It was in papers today.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, from what we know, first of all, it is not true that CAA has asked for a vote and it has not been given. There is a procedure. Let them produce evidence that they have written to Minister of Finance asking for a vote and it has not been given.
They are speaking to you.
There is a procedure of giving a vote. When an institution wants a vote, the procedure is prescribed in the public finance regulations. They have to meet certain conditions, and they have to follow that procedure. Let them produce evidence to you and to us that they actually follow that procedure and they have not been given a vote. Yes, they are not a vote, they are a subvention. If they want a vote, let them follow the procedure and write to us, and we shall assess them. If they meet the requirements, they will be given a vote. Number two, Mr. Chairman, the issue of lack of...
No, but the money they're entitled to get,
They
which
get
you
it.
are which you appropriate,
They get as a subvention.
they get it as
They get the money as a
subvention.
subvention, yes. And of course, they generate their own internal
Yeah.
revenue. But, Mr. Chairman, I think, like the Minister has said, you have raised fundamental issues. For example, this question of what Hone Otieno raised and what you raised yourself, because Hone Otieno says there is no strategy. On our side, we are actually going to demonstrate that this is a strategy. Because the strategy of in the budget framework paper cannot be read in isolation of the plan and also the sector strategies. Remember, we have a budget framework paper, but we also have sector strategies. So we have actually laid out the strategic framework. And when Mutebe actually did allude to that, and you alluded to it, there is a strategic framework in this BFP. But in order to get the comprehensive picture, you need to look at the budget framework paper and the sector strategies. And we do hope that when the sectors appear in the sectoral committees, they are able to actually... No, they are able to demonstrate that. If they are not able to demonstrate that, then you should actually send them to bring their sector strategies or align their sector strategies.
Procedure. One, I think we are entering the territory that is, first of all, the agency come here and they choose a method of responding. I think it is your own discretion of the committee to say, can you put this in writing? Two, the minister comes here with the finest technical people support he wants. The essence is not, these are not very handsome people. Even if they're aware, even if they are aware, they are here to buttress and back up the minister in providing prompt and accurate answers. Even the backbench, the researchers, and they are telling us about technology. They have their machines where they need just click and give us the data. Now, it is us to say on that point, please, can you write and elaborate? But for them to come here and all the questions, you ask them about Bank of Uganda, we will write. You ask, because here you do two things. You are not only responding to members of parliament, but you're also accounting to Ugandans. Okay? And that is very key in our democracy. So this committee is not just to account to Mr. Nkololi and us and go home. By being these cameras here in the open, you are accounting to Ugandans. So writing is not completely accounting. So you should answer. Where we feel we need you to write, we will tell you. But for you to come here and say, that one we shall write, that one we shall write. You are administrators of this committee.
Okay, we can go through all the questions.
Yes.
We can go through all the questions.
Yeah,
No, because rating.
they are proceeding on another
We can give all
procedure.
it, yeah.
Have you answered?
Well, I was going to
You are
answer.
guiding me first.
Yes.
Then I will come in.
Yes, I think the matter is raising is very important. We are accounting to the people of Uganda. And you really need to speak to those cameras and respond to the questions as we put to you, as we are put to you.
Okay.
We have asked you a question, account for the cost of monetary policy. Someone made an observation that the money we are spending on Bank of Uganda is alarming, and it's increasing every year. It's becoming a serious concern. So that such an answer should not wait for a written response. It's a question you could answer immediately. I asked you a legal question. This law requires that we approve the ceiling of government expenditure in the BFP. And I asked you a question. You have stated somewhere that you don't have the numbers yet. You come with the numbers afterwards. a move that goes against the law. I raise a question to you, and you are saying you are going to write. How do I proceed with the PFD? If you cannot answer, yes, proceed. Order, members.
Chairman, I want to tell you exactly where you have ended. You have cited the issue of the law, and I know you have discussed this before, that what we are doing now, if I can, I'm sure you have discussed it.
But that is what we have done with the NDP and what. We are not going to be.
Of the Act,
It's going for NDP to chairman.
Section 9.3. Section 9.3. And read together with Section 78, liability on failure to meet requirements. Mr. Chairman, when you read the minister's submission, I've tried to scan through it quickly, and I'm sorry to be late. On page 5, I think. On page 5, it talked about aligning on this presentation sectorial priorities, which are supposed to be aligned to the National Development Plan 3, which we don't have. So whatever we are discussing now, we are doing it in anticipation. And Mr. Chairman, the minister has been a long-serving MP, and he knows our rules, that we are not allowed to discuss anything in anticipation. As we talk right now, we don't know the content of National Development Plan 3. We don't know. But also the law instructs the ministry under 78. Should you misguide Parliament and we act in anticipation of what does not exist, then you are liable for your action. But for me, I'm more concerned about the image of the institution. Because we as Parliament, we are doing our work. Like now you can see you have been engaging our members. We are all here, almost all of us are here, all the members are here. Because we are interested. So you are engaging us, and we want to give our time to serve our people. But all these things we are doing is not in compliance with the law. That's my problem. So it means we have to wait for the minister first to go to the House and then present the National Development Plan 3, which must be endorsed by Parliament, scrutinized, and then aligned to all these things we are discussing. Why should we go through all those hassles? There you are. And if it is in July, so what are we making the budget for? Simply for our whole financial year. So you can see, Mr. Chairman, I think let's be serious. And this ministry must take us seriously, really. Because we are here on the mandate of the people, and we are doing a good job for you. We are very supportive. But you come here with the economists, they are giving you very eloquent explanation. You don't come with lawyers to tell you are breaching the law. I think you need lawyers in that office. Because why should we always come up with minority reports, with fights on the floor of Parliament? There's no need for that.
Come with the lawyer.
And then Mr. Chairman, can you also ask him about the whether he has complied to the charter of physical responsibility? Has he complied? Has he complied?
We asked all those questions.
And because it is there on page 4 of the document we are discussing now. So he has not complied. All these things we are doing, we are actually acting in support of his illegality.
So, Minister, I think you can respond to those ones directly. We raise them, you do not answer.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, on Bank of Uganda, because there are 2 points which are remaining. Bank of Uganda, on the issue of NDP3, I think we have responded to it, but we can reply. Bank of Uganda, can you make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, through my honorable minister, we had this discussion on Bank of Uganda capitalization in the Finance Committee, and the agreement was that we have a seminar to, yes, that was the agreement.
Can you answer the question first?
Yes, the finance committee agreed that together with officials of Bank of Uganda, let's have a seminar to understand exactly what the impairment of Bank of Uganda is, how it arises, and what the actual amount is. Because in the conduct of monetary policy, Bank of Uganda has to use money to sweep out the excessive liquidity so that we do not cause inflation. And that is a very costly exercise. As you know, we are borrowing a lot domestically. When you borrow this money, you are going to push it into the economy. And it can raise inflationary pressures. So you need to give Bank of Uganda instruments to be able to wipe out this excessive liquidity. And yes, and that is the result. That's the cost. It's a very high cost of managing monetary policy. It is not about being a banker to government, because that is a different thing, but managing monetary policy. But we say it because it is a very intricate thing. Initially, for example, in the law, Bank of Uganda was given a capitalization of 20 billion, but that was very long time ago. 20 billion shillings as capitalization cannot do all the
200.
No, it was law. No, not the money. In the law. So the costs are actually very high. And they said, okay, let's go and agree. We sit down and break down these costs so that everybody understands why Bank of Uganda needs capitalization.
Okay. But the chair. This is simple economics. No.
Okay. Well, Mr. Kakwa,
unfortunately, we cannot interrogate him. He's not the minister. But if I know that he has spoken on behalf of the minister. He's telling me about the problem of the Bank of Uganda, the capitalization and all that. What has that got to do with the legality of the exercise we are involved in now?
No, but
he
started with
the first one.
I was answering a different question.
We are answering. So, Mr. Chairman, on that one, can I request you that you give us some time? We come with some.
Chair, no, but maybe that's what they're saying. Maybe that's better. But what my friend has explained here. No. I'm an economist as well.
yeah, anyway.
I'm an economist as
Don't
well.
a monetary economist.
I need monetary
Please, I think we really need to account on that particular aspect. Because you're talking about costs. The cost the bank is incurring and monetary policy. We do not know the cost, and we are not privy to that information at all. And why that cost is escalating over the last few years. So we really need the Bank of Uganda to come and technically explain why the cost is escalating.
But they pay. They pay.
Yeah.
Because I've not talked since morning and you're not picking me. And I want to say, I've been on this committee for a while, Mr. Chairman. And every time they are asking for money for recapitalizing Bank of Uganda, they give a justification. And that justification you have just given now has never been. It is on record. We've been receiving it. And you remember the last time? It was to do with the Trade Bank something. Yes. Now it's talking about something totally different.
So, Mr. Chairman, why we...
And why I want to conclude, Mr. Chairman, the onus is on this committee to refocus the sector. It is us to decide and say, how do we align strategies into real terms of budget outputs? Mr. Chairman, I want to give you an example here on improving social services and regional equity. They talked about healthcare and nutrition. And under that, they are talking of adequate staffing, equipment for health center 2s, equipment for health center 3s. Are there things there in the budget?
Yes.
Are those equipments there?
Yes, the money is
For instance, which equipment?
You can show the money.
Now the health sector now comes in.
Well,
Explain to you.
I want to observe that
Make a comment.
They talked about the national strategy and the sector strategies. Of course, sector strategies follow national. So it is not an issue. If you've not looked at the specific sector, we shall look at them because they are going to receive them.
Yeah.
Can you align your national strategies properly?
Yes.
This is the issue.
yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to make some. There are two things.
Anyway,
Can I
Mr. Minister,
can I
before you
res-
respond, I wanted to observe that you surely need more time to go and prepare the answers, and then come back in a meeting like this one again. We go over those questions again. We should give you that opportunity to go study the issues that we have raised them, and then we have another engagement. And where you need the more technical input, say from Bank of Uganda, you are free to come with them and respond to these questions. Because they're the same questions that we shall take on the floor of Parliament. So it's better you answer those questions now. If you agree with me, then I will adjourn the meeting, unless you want to make further comment.
No, one comment I wanted to make.
Chair, I have a request before you adjourn. I want as they come to explain. I was going through these figures, very painful with him on domestic forum. The net, because once you don't put you net figures, you don't know the damage you are doing. The net interest that is going to increase in this financial year alone is 420 something billion. As a result of borrowing.
But I think you already made that point.
Yes, I want them to explain.
You made that point how we are donating money
Yes, and I want them to explain.
some
That's
foreigner
the-
hidden in a local
I want
scheme.
them to explain what economics they are doing.
You spoke a lot about it, and I think
Okay.
the question was very clear.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, there are just two comments I wanted to make. That as we present this budget framework paper, it is also important that it's understood that it has to be read in line with the sector plans, because we have presented a framework which guides the sectors. So for us to understand as members of the committee whether this sector plan is aligned to the national plan, it would be important now, for example, to know what is in health. If the budget framework paper says we are funding health center 3s, you should be able to interrogate whether in the health sector this is true. But if everything is asked Ministry of Finance, then the operation of parliamentary committees becomes a bit difficult. That's why we put parliamentary committees in place. Yes. The second point is why we had sought in the finance committee. Why
Let the minister present.
Why we had thought that we should have a workshop. Why we had thought.
Order.
The minister is telling us that the two documents should be read. Together. We have just come from our sector committees. And what Margaret is saying, she must have seen it from the sector committee of finance. You see, in order to allude that we are saying this in ignorance, when we actually belong to the sector committees. And what we are putting in is the information that we got from the sector committee.
Yeah, but
well, Minister, this very VFP has part 2, which is on sector. And this document was written by Minister of Finance. And you said part 2 are the sectoral presentations. We have read the sectoral presentations vis-a-vis the macro position in part 1. So we are not lacking in terms of information.
But Mr. Chairman, let's be honest to one another. If Honorable Margaret says, are these equipment in the health center 3s? Isn't it? Wouldn't
amend the budget.
Yeah, wouldn't it be better if the Minister of Health answered that?
I think let's give you time.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons why we said that we should have BOU, a committee, rather a workshop for this, because capitalization of Bank of Uganda is now going to be the fourth time we are capitalizing Bank of Uganda. And the same questions keep coming. So there must be something that we must work together to understand this once and for all. That's what we are discussing, but it's your prerogative to make a decision. We shall come with them to answer, but should you want us to explain more and more, we'll be there. The last one, Mr. Chairman, the last one, I agree with your approach that we have answered the majority of the questions. Where we have not answered, we are going to put it in writing, and we shall be ready to interface with the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I was just pleading with the minister, if he could help us, assist us, to get us to understand that the National Development Plan, it is from the National Development Plan that we develop sector investment plans for 5 years. And that's why Margaret's issue is very important. It is from the National Development Plan that we develop these sector investment plans. So without that, we cannot do anything. All these arguments we are doing are baseless. So, and it is from this investment plan of 5 years that we now come up with the annual budget.
Yes, well,
that's how it flows.
Honorable Cecilia, before you came, I actually raised those questions.
And we answered.
Yes. And
maybe you should have thrown him out.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, you don't have a proper answer. So he's going to get the answer.
Yes.
Yeah, so this meeting is adjourned.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
That can't work. No, it can't work.
Good. Director, some submission.